What's up YouTube? In this video, we're going to be breaking down why you make six figures or more, but you still feel broke. This is going to be an important video if you are someone that's making and you know that you make above average money, but you feel like you don't have anything to show for it. It's not showing up in your bank accounts, not showing up in your investments, and you're frustrated because you're spending all this time at work or in your business and frankly have nothing to show for it. In this video, we're going to break down why this is happening to you, the actual cause of it, and that cause is probably not what you think. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can actually turn this around so you can start actually getting rewarded for your hard work at work or in your business and start making the progress that you deserve. Quick intro, if you don't know who I am before we dive in, my name is Jose Hernandez. I have an online financial education company that serves first generation wealth builders, people like you and me, people that are the first person in their family to start investing or think about investing. And my mission is to help you reach your goal of financial freedom or build generational wealth for your family. I got my start in the industry as a wealth management advisor, where I learned everything I learned hands-on, working with wealthy individuals, earned my Series 7 and 66 licenses, got mentorship from some of the top financial advisors in the industry, and eventually left that world to start my own thing where over the years I've helped thousands of people get on track with their goal of financial freedom. So let's go ahead and dive into the video. Again, we're gonna be talking about why you make six figures or more but still feel broke. So let's actually discuss why you can't get ahead. Why is it that you spend so much time and energy working hard and being successful at what you do, but you have nothing to show for it? Well, let's start off with the fact that it's not inflation, okay? This is an issue that I've seen happen for the 7+ years that I've been doing this work now. Even when inflation was lower than what it is today, this was still a core issue where people were making good money, but they felt like they had nothing to show for it. Now, I'm not here to gaslight you and say inflation isn't an issue. Of course it is, right? If you look at what your grocery bill is today versus where it was 3 or 4 years ago, obviously that is a problem. But I've found a lot of people like to blame external circumstances, things that we have no control over, like the economy and like inflation, for the sole cause as to why they can't get ahead financially. And that's not always the case. Yes, it impacts some people more than others, but what I want you to understand is if you're making six figures or more, maybe you're making $300,000, $400,000 a year, the average salary in the United States is $63,795, like we're seeing on screen here. So yes, things are more expensive. It is a little bit harder than it was in the past to make progress financially, but you need to understand that some of these external reasons are not enough to stop you from building the wealth that you deserve. Yes, it's a little bit tougher, and it does impact, inflation does impact certain households more than others, but you as a six-figure earner, or maybe multiple six-figure earner, it's not enough to stop you on your journey to reaching the financial freedom that you deserve. And it's also not the core issue as to why you feel like you can't make progress financially. And it's also not purely a budget issue either. And I want to emphasize the word purely here, because in part, it might be partially a budget issue, but we need to dive deeper into what I mean by it's not a budget issue. Because yes, having a budget is important, whether you make $60,000 a year or $400,000 a year. But what I've found is a lot of people go about budgeting the wrong way. And this is going to tie directly to the core root, or the core reason as to why you're struggling with what you're struggling with right now. But first, we need to talk about how people go about budgeting the wrong way. And also understanding you don't have a money issue, you don't have a budget issue. What you really have, and the reason why you feel stuck and why you can't get ahead, even though you make good money, the answer is you have a systems issue. And I'll show you what I mean by that as we go throughout this video. But essentially what's happening is you don't have the proper systems in place in your finances to make sure that every time you get paid, or at least once a month, part of the money that you're making is going towards building assets, investments, things that have value, that can grow in value, that can provide you compound interest, and start building that momentum and start building that snowball effect that happens over time as you're consistent with your investing. Because if you don't have these systems in place, the best you're going to do is stay in the same place. And that's probably where you've been at for some time, maybe even some years. And going back to the income thing, a lot of people think, well, maybe if I just make more money, it's going to solve the problem. But if you don't have the proper systems in place when you're making less money, the problem is just going to be the same when you're making more money, because you haven't already established the proper systems in place. You're simply just now making more money and spending more money, and you're still in the same place even though your income is higher. So let's dive into more detail on this. So we're going to look at two different ways you can go about managing your finances. This is Personal Finance 101. What probably 90% of people do, if not more, is what we're looking at here. You get paid, you pay your bills, you spend money on the things that you enjoy to do, and then you try to save and invest. What's the problem here? Well, you probably don't have anything left to save or invest. And this is why systems are so important. So the problem here is you're using the save or invest step as the last step. Whereas what you really want to do is you want to do what's called pay yourself first. Maybe you've heard me talk about this on my content. Maybe other people talk to you about this on other people's content. But essentially, having the right systems in place is essentially just moving that save or invest step up to where after you get paid, you're automatically transferring part of that money. And again, it doesn't have to be all, because I know we have bills to pay and we want to go out and go to concerts and stuff. It doesn't have to be all or none, but there has to be something in place here to where we are basically forcing ourselves to save and invest part of the money that we earn. Otherwise, you're never going to make any progress regardless of how much money you're making. Hopefully this is starting to make a little bit of sense. So you're probably wondering like, okay, Jose, that kind of makes sense, but what does this actually look like? So what I want to do is actually show you kind of 2 steps here to actually get this in place for you so you can stop feeling so stuck or trapped when it comes to the good money that you make and the progress that you feel like you should be making. So let's dive into that. First off, we're going to start off with step 1, which is, of course, the budget. We're going to do a quick rundown of what the purpose of a budget is and how to make sure you're doing that correctly. So then we can move into step 2, which is the actual systems part. All right, so here we're looking at a sample budget. This is, by the way, an exercise that I walk through with all of my clients and students, regardless of whether they make $80,000 a year or $450,000 a year. You never make too much money to have a budget, is my opinion. But what I was referring to earlier is what a lot of people get wrong about budgeting is they think, well, it's a plan for how much money I can spend. And that's not necessarily the whole truth. Yes, expenses are a part of a budget and you should be using it for that reason. But the true purpose of a solid budget is to help you understand what is the amount that I can automatically start to save and invest and pay myself first on a monthly, bi-weekly, weekly basis so I can have the proper systems in place so I can stop feeling stuck and like I'm not making any progress financially. So I'm not going to walk through this in a ton of detail because I want to keep this video as concise as possible. I might make a separate video entirely on budgeting, but let's look at this quickly together. So this individual, they're bringing home $9,000 per month after tax, and their total expenses, which takes into account like home expenses, transportation, daily living, entertainment, et cetera, on average, total around $6,742. So the biggest value add of this budgeting exercise is figuring out what this net amount is here in this column, if you can see it. So when we do the simple math, you take your total income after tax of $9,000 and we subtract their total expenses of $6,742 per month. This means that on average, on a quote unquote regular month, we have around $2,257 to work with. That's $2,000 plus dollars that we can automatically start to invest. We can use it to build our emergency savings, put it into a high yield savings account. There's all sorts of things that you can do in this scenario with that 2K. And by the way, that's a solid amount of money to pay yourself first every single month. And if you're doing that, that can really start to add up over time, even if you're starting to invest from scratch. But nonetheless, the purpose and the value of the budgeting exercise is, yes, it's to have a plan for what my expenses are so I can make sure that those are covered. But more importantly, it's to really figure out like, what is my number? What is the amount that I can really commit to on a monthly basis where I can pay myself first while still making room for my bills, still making room for the things I enjoy to do, like concerts and, sporting events and taking your wife or friends or kids or whatever out to do what you want to do, right? So that is the true value of the budget. So step 1 is getting this correct. Now we're going to move on to step 2. Okay, so for step 2, once we get our budget clear and we take the time to do that exercise properly, now it's time to actually set up the proper systems in our finances to make sure that we're automatically paying ourselves first, either once a month or every time we get paid or weekly. The cadence doesn't matter as much as like the fact that you're actually doing it, at least on a once a month basis. So what does this actually look like? So this is an oversimplified scenario. This can be more complex. It can be simpler depending on your situation. I just wanted to show you a visual that you could quickly work with. So we're assuming that you get your paycheck from work, right? Maybe you get paid twice a week or twice a month, or once a month. Regardless, what we're doing here is in this simple illustration, automatically the green arrows represent automatic investing and saving. So maybe this individual has access to a retirement account through their employer, so they're saving automatically from their paycheck into the 401k. And then, of course, they have direct deposit set up to their personal checking account for their bank account. And there they have the steps set up to where before they even think about spending, before they even thinking about whatever else that they can do with that money, they are forcing themselves to automatically invest that money. So you can see an arrow going towards investments. And that could be a number of different types of investment accounts. It could be a Roth IRA. It could be a taxable account. If you have kids, it could be investment accounts for the kids. And an important step to mention here is it's not enough to transfer the cash, of course. You want to make sure that that money is actually being invested, because I've seen the mistake in the past that people do part of this. They have the money being transferred to the investment accounts, but the value of the investment accounts is to make sure that money is actually being invested. So important pro tip there. But nonetheless, they have part of their money going automatically to their investments. And then in this example, maybe they have a high yield savings account that they are saving into, maybe for emergency fund, or maybe they're looking to buy a home soon or investment property, whatever it may be. And like I said, this could be altered to fit your specific situation. But if we're looking at the numbers from the last scenario with the budget, that 2K plus that we were looking at, by default is being put to work for us automatically into these different types of investment accounts. And of course, that money is being automatically invested. It could be into an index fund portfolio, an ETF portfolio. It can be all sorts of things that you can do with it. But the key here is the money is being put to work automatically. And then the final step is the wants and needs. So needs being, of course, your utilities, your rent, your mortgage, phone bill, etc. And then the wants being doing the fun stuff with your friends, family, whatever it may be. So of course there's room to do both. It doesn't have to be all or none. It doesn't have to be just save and invest and live miserably. And it doesn't have to be on the flip side of that where it's like, YOLO, I'm going to spend every single dollar that I make either. It's all about balance, but it's also about having the proper system. So what I want to do is really drive home this point and share a real life success story with you to show you how valuable this one thing that we're talking about really is. So here we're looking at some of my students. This is Sarah and Taylor, great couple. Really enjoyed working with them. Sarah and Taylor are parents. They're business owners, really successful. They worked their tails off. And even though they were making pretty good money, they were aware that they never felt like they had anything to show for it, right? And that's probably the situation that you're in right now. Maybe you are successful in your business. Maybe you are successful at your job and you're making an above average income. But like when you look at your financials, you're like, where's the money at? Like, where is it going? And by simply applying what we're talking about in this video, you can see what Sarah and Taylor have to say. They said that they just did an audit of how much their net worth has changed in 1 year's time, which is the time that we spent together. And it has increased by $147,000. So increased by over 6 figures. Because of compounding, our accounts are growing faster than we can even fund them. So that's massive. They have that snowball effect that I was talking about earlier in the video. They have that momentum working for them because they've developed the habit of turning their income into assets that can snowball in value, that can compound in value, and simply repeating that process while still making room for taking care of the kids, still going on vacation, still enjoying the time with themselves. And this is the true power of what we're talking about today. And the thing about Sarah and Taylor, yes, they're great, love them to death, but they're probably no different than you if you're watching this video right now. So I wanted to quickly share that success story to show you the power of making this tiny but important shift in how you go about managing your finances. So before we wrap up here, let me give you a quick rundown of what we talked about. So the key reason why you feel broke or you feel like you're not making any progress financially, even though you make good money, it's simply a systems issue. It's not an inflation issue. It's not really a budget issue. It's not a I need to make more money issue. It's a systems issue. You simply haven't systematized your finances to where automatically you're treating your investments like a bill, basically. My favorite subscription is Chewy. I have my dog's food automatically purchased and sent to me every month without me having to think about it. It's a great analogy for how you can treat this with your investments. Set it up like an auto pay bill, where every month or twice a week or whatever, you are paying yourself first, just like you pay your mortgage company automatically and things like that. And by doing this consistently, you're going to finally start to build that momentum that you need at this stage to finally start feeling like you're getting ahead and making the progress, regardless of whether you're making $100,000 a year, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Like all this stuff applies regardless of your income level. But the advantage is if you are a higher income earner, you can really get that momentum to start building up faster because you have more money to invest compared to the average person that isn't making as much. So if you're watching this, you're like, okay, I get it. I'm tired of feeling broke. I'm tired of feeling like I should be doing better, but I'm not, but I just need some help along the way. Next steps are simple. In the description to this video, you're going to see a link that you can use to schedule a one-on-one conversation with myself. It's an opportunity for us to sit down, meet, to get to better understand your situation, understand your goals, and see how I can point you in the right direction. So again, the link to that is going to be in the description to this video. Just click that link and we can schedule a time that works for you. We can sit down and have a deeper conversation and I can point you in the right direction. But that's going to be all for me in this video. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have, make sure that you give the video a like, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to find out more about how to master your investing in plain English, reach your goals sooner, and get a lot more confident about the moves that you're making financially. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.